Well, here's my problem with family budgets. Most budgeting tools that I've seen really they cause you to focus in on lack. They assume that the income you have right now is all the income that you're ever going to have, and so you need to cut expenses. Don't take that vacation, right? Don't buy your kids anything. Don't buy anything, and save. Just save all you can out of the income that you currently have. And look, that's all fine, but all this focus on lack is actually hurting you and quite likely training your family, training your children to repeat the cycle of lack for another generation. Right? So the question is how can I be a good steward of money while also embracing an abundance mindset? Well, I'm going to give you some tools for this, and trust me, this is something that you're not going to find anywhere else, but it's so simple. So let's get into it. Welcome to Success Sundays with Harrison. I'm your host, Harrison Wilder. I'm a corporate strategist and entrepreneur with an executive MBA from the George Washington University. I've managed 2 multi-million-dollar companies, and I advise top-level executives from a variety of industries. In this show, you'll find practical insights that will help you succeed as a leader in today's business environment. If you're serious about developing your skills as an executive, this is the place for you. Enjoy today's episode. First of all, a disclaimer, look, my family budget is in a hot mess right now. I mean, I've got teenagers who are not afraid to spend money, and I think it's awesome. But I was checking my debit card statement the other day, and I saw that DoorDash made 3 deliveries to my house, 3 separate trips to my house for lunch on the same day. And my instinct, of course, was to blast the family group text, be like, hey, we need to get this under control. But then I remembered how grateful I am that my children have an abundance mindset, that most of the time they believe that everything that they need or desire is available to them. And so I want to tell you, that's going to serve them so much better than mastering physical discipline. Physical discipline is great, don't get me wrong, but the abundance mindset is going to serve them so much more. But look, it wasn't always this way in the Wilder house, and there have been times where we've had to be very intentional, right? Very focused about where we're allocating our money. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Family budget, the family budget. And I've seen 2 extremes with this because, we come from a community of faith, and the church where I grew up in faith, I saw 2 very polarizing extremes. One, on one side of the scale is people who live by faith only, and they don't pay any attention to money, right? They're just we pray, God provides. We don't count our money. We don't worry about it. We just live by faith. And so that's one extreme. On the other side, I've seen people who live by a budget, and they don't pay any attention to faith, right? They're just this is what I have to spend. I'm going to allocate it. I'm not going to hope and dream and have all maybe I'll hope that some things will change someday, but I'm going to stick to this budget and make sure that I save for the future and be responsible with my money, to be a good steward. So look, where we are with our business right now, I'm more focusing on budgeting and forecasting inside of the business, right? I want to make sure, and I'm going to talk about this in a future episode, but when it comes to our family budget, I've simply tried to figure out in the business how much money we need for our family, and I put that in the family pot every week so that we always have more than enough for what we want to do. So I make sure that the business is able to support our family every week for what we need to cover those expenses. So in a sense, right now we're paying ourselves from the business enough to support our lifestyle, but it wasn't always this way, right? There was a time when we lived on a paycheck, and instead of, the paycheck accommodating our lifestyle, we had to squeeze our lifestyle into the paycheck. And look, but while we were in that season, even my wife and I, we were people of vision. We were people of faith. We always had more that we wanted to do than we had money in our paycheck. We wanted to give money away. We wanted to treat our kids to nice things. We wanted to go on vacations together. We wanted to invest in ourselves, right? Be able to buy programs and increase our education. We had so much more vision. I mean, and I just know what this feels like, and you might be like this as well, where you have so much more vision than you have provision. And you may be experiencing this right now. You may be like looking at your paycheck and you're like, wow, there's so much more I want to do, right? There may be charity that you want to give to. You might want to invest in your church, might want to just have like extra money so you can be generous with the people in your life. You might, maybe with your family, you want to just go on vacations, you want to do things and you don't have the provision right now. So what do you do with that, right? If you follow the expert advice that's out there, the only option you have is to just cut all of those things out of your life and maybe put it off for some distant future. It's like Dave Ramsey says, it's like you're going to live today like nobody else, so tomorrow you can live like nobody else. And look, I love Dave Ramsey. I think that's cool, but that kind of thinking, it's not putting any demand on the present other than cutting things, other than being disciplined. It doesn't release any faith. It doesn't release any creative energy into the here and now for your dreams. It just kind of pushes them off to the future, and we hope that one day we make more money. But the Bible says that now faith is the substance of things hoped for, right? And I love that word now that's before it, because it's like, in other words, you could say that faith is for now. Faith it's activated in the present, right? Putting it off to the future, then faith doesn't serve its purpose. It's supposed to be activated now. So the question is, how can we budget in a way that puts a demand on our hopes and dreams and activates our faith right now? And that's what I want to show you in today's episode, and we'll just go through it. It looks super simple, but the first thing is this: look, you want to start by taking time to like put everything down that you actually want to spend money on for the next year, right? Many people, when they start a budgeting process, they start with what they have. So they list all of their income sources. And yeah, we're going to get to that. But what if you actually started your budgeting process with this? I'm going to pray, and I'm going to get my whole family to pray. I'm going to get the kids involved. I'm going to get my wife involved, or my spouse involved, and we're going to make a list of everything that we feel like God is speaking to us that we're supposed to do this year, right? This could be like giving goals. This could include like family vacations. This could include, a budget for your food, like everything that you need to spend money on for the next year. If you were going to live the life that to the best of your ability, you feel like God is calling you to move into in this next year, right? So write down 12 months worth of expenses, right? So you're going to put your house in there, whatever you're spending on rent or on your mortgage, all of the expenses for the whole year: food, vacations, repairs, car payments, maintenance on the cars, like everything, and just think through it all. Like, here's all the stuff. If you need help, you can always go back and look at your expenses for last year to get some idea on what types of things you usually spend money on, and write it all out. But don't stop with what you've been accustomed to doing. Really pray and be like, Lord, what is it that you want us to do this year? Right? What is the impact that you want us to have this year? What are the things that you want us to invest in this year? How much money do you want us to set aside this year to prepare for the future? Right? How much are we going to invest? How much do we need? What are these dreams that are in your heart, and which ones of them do you feel prayerfully, to the best of your ability? I know you're not going to get this perfect, but to the best of your ability, what is it that you're supposed to be doing this year financially? And like I said, don't just do this by yourself. This is what's great about this is you can involve everybody in this. Hey kids, what are some dreams that you have for this year? What are some things that you feel like the Lord is showing you? Maybe they might come up with ideas of people in their school that they want to help, projects they want to get involved in. You're going to start to learn what kind of things they're passionate about and interested in, and you're going to jot all of this down into one long list of everything that you feel like, hey, if we were living the life that God is asking us to live for the next year, this is what it's going to cost us, right? Now put all of that down. You can write a column of all of the names of the expenses, and then another column right beside it that has the actual amounts, the annual amount of all those expenses. Look, if you're like me and you love spreadsheets, do this inside of Excel, do this inside of a Google worksheet, write all the names of the expenses down and put the annual amount that it's going to cost you in the column next to it. If you don't like spreadsheets, just write it out on a sheet of paper. No problem, right? But the key here is to dream, right? To don't limit yourself and actually pay attention. pay attention to like how your mind is immediately starting to limit areas where you're like, no, we can't do that. Or no, but this is not the time to be trying to like remove stuff. This is the time to dream. All the things that are in your heart, put them all down. And in this process, certainly, after you've written them all down, you can prayerfully look at it together as a family and kind of be like, hey, is there anything on here that, we think is that we don't need to do this year, or that we don't want to do this year? Maybe this year we don't need to do that vacation to this place. We want to do it to a different place, or, but prayerfully work through it. If there are things that you can eliminate, fine. Eliminate them off the list. But what you ought to have at the end is a great representation of what you feel like God is calling your family into financially for the next year. Isn't that a great way to start? Right? Can you just already see that, like, by starting with the dream, by starting with the vision, by starting with prayer, that we can already move into more of an abundance mentality, not a lack, not trying to like squeeze everything into our current provision. Start with everything and write them down, the annual expenses. All right. And then what you can do after this point, if you want to, you could add another little column to the left-hand side of the list of expenses, and you can start to prioritize them, right? So you can, as a family, get together, or just you and your spouse, and prioritize them. Be like, okay, look, some of these are absolutely necessary, right? There's some things like if you're renting a place and you're going to stay in the same place, that's going to be one of your number one priorities, right? You don't want to end up not being able to pay your rent, right? But you're going to prioritize it. Number one, what's the most important thing here? What's the second most important thing? Some of you, this is going to be value based, right? Some of you are going to be like, before I even pay my rent, I'm going to take out my tithe, right? So you're going to look at your values, you're going to use it to kind of prioritize the list, and you can agree together on that as a couple. And this is one thing I think is actually so powerful, is doing this exercise together as a couple will allow you to work on things before you get to the place where you're going to have to actually get rid of something that may be more important to one of you than the other. Let's work together to prioritize them, right? Then have a good, honest conversation before we even know how much money we have to spend. Let's go ahead and have a good, honest conversation about how we're going to prioritize this stuff, so that everybody gets to participate in that process. I think that's going to be very valuable for your relationship as well, to prioritize them together. So you might have a list of 50 different expenses, and you've prioritized them now. By the way, a little pro tip here. Some of the things you're going to find that, part of this expense is actually a high priority, and then part of it is a low priority. I'll give you an example, like food. Food in our family is a big expense. And there's a certain amount of food that is actually a really high priority, right? We need to make sure we have groceries in the house, or we're going to die, right? So that's a pretty high priority. But other areas of food, some of the, junk food and extra stuff that we get, or eating out and things like that, they don't have to be as high of a priority, right? So you could actually divide those into different categories and list them out separately and assign them different priorities. Okay, so you've got all your expenses. You know what they are for the year, like and the ideal dream for the year. And then what I want you to do now is to move over and make some new columns for all of the known income sources that you have, right? So just right at the top of your page that you're writing on, you can write out like, okay, here's my job, here's my spouse's job, here's the investment income that we have, here's the income that we get from this rental property, here's, grandma so-and-so gives me a check for Christmas every year and it's pretty reliable. You can put out all of your known income sources and just what the total is at the top. And then what you're going to do now is you're going to start assigning those income sources to the expenses, right? So if I'm making $50,000 in my job, I'm going to take that $50,000 and I'm going to start assigning it to these different expenses based on the priority that I've already picked for these expenses. So I'm going to go to number one first, and like, okay, well, number one is $10,000 a year. So I'm going to take out of my $50,000 salary, the first 10, I'm going to put it on number one, right? And I'm going to start working my way through the priorities. I'm going to do that for each of the income sources that are known to me. So at the end of the day, I'm going to have all my expenses for the year totaled out, and then I'm going to have a column where I've assigned those expenses to different income sources. All right. And then once I've exhausted all of my income sources, chances are that there's going to be some money left over, right? If you've put down all of the things that you can dream about, all the things that you feel like God is asking you to do, most of the time, for most of us, there's an element of faith now that is being introduced, right? Where God has put something on our heart that is beyond our known capacity, that's beyond our known income levels right now. And this is a wonderful thing, right? This is not something to feel guilty about. This is not something to be upset about. This is how God has designed the world, where we have hope, right? We have things that are not yet seen that we want, that we desire. And that's good, because hope is a very positive thing. And so anyway, what you're going to do now is what I call the faith column. Right to the right of all of those different income categories that you have, you're going to create the faith column. Right? So for all of your expenses, after you've assigned all of the income sources and the faith column, you get to subtract all of those income, right, allocations from the expense, and you're left with the difference, right? So for each of these, probably your first priority, second priority, third priority, hopefully you've got a few priorities that you've already knocked out, right? But then in your faith column is going to be left the difference of things that you don't know where it's going to come from yet. And I love calling this the faith column, because this is what we're relying on God for. This is what we're saying. Okay, Lord, you put these things in our heart. I don't know where they're going to come from yet, but I'm believing you for them, and I have faith that you can do this. Okay, and since you've already assigned a priority, you know the order, or you know the priority of those things. So, and this is what's really cool about this, is that many times God works miracles and provides for us for things that we had no idea it was coming, right? We didn't expect the blessing, or maybe we expected the blessing, but we didn't know how it was going to come. So many times I know that God is like getting stuff to you, like and providing for you and your family, but you don't recognize it when it comes. You didn't know that that's what it was. You weren't in the right mindset when it came. You weren't, you didn't know, like you didn't have your priorities set up and straight. The cool thing about this is that whenever you have new money that was not on your list of known income sources, you can give a great big praise to God, and you know exactly where to put that money, because you've already, this is something that you released your faith for, and you've already prioritized it all out. And so you know exactly where to spend it. This is what we did in our family, especially during times where things were really tight, is we kept that faith column open. And at times there were as much as like $150,000, $200,000 in the faith column. So sometimes the faith column was more than our income columns, right? And in the faith column, man, we would just, we'd come together, my wife and I, and we'd say, God, we believe this is what you wanted us to do this year. We believe you've spoken to us to the best of our ability. We believe that we're following you here, and we're asking you to provide for this amount, for the difference. And every time, miracles would start to happen. Income sources for things would come in that we didn't expect that it was going to come, and we'd know exactly where to put it. The faith column, so powerful. And also this, you'll find that when you have that number down in the faith column, you're like, okay, this year there's $50,000 difference. Just having that number in mind is going to release creative energy inside of you, for finding it. Like, you're going to see the opportunities out there. You're going to be like, wait a minute, I could do this. We could do this to cut, we could change our expenses over here, and like without losing any lifestyle, if we just make this one adjustment, we have all the money. Or you're going to have creative ideas for new income opportunities, things that you could do. What's something you could sell, right? What are some things in your garage you could sell? What are some services that you could sell? What is a new business that you could start? What is a business venture you could get involved in that's going to cover this? You'll start to see that your mind is going to go to work. Creative energy is going to go to work towards that goal, just because you made it clear. Right? What a shame it would have been if you just completely dismissed these things in the faith column because, well, we don't have it in our income, right? you want to always have something that you're releasing your faith for. You always want to have something in the faith column, something that you're believing for, so that your creative energy can be released. The Bible says that God has given you the power to create wealth. Right? So let's put a demand on that right now in the present, by putting it in the faith column and knowing what it is that we need to do, what we're going to generate this year by faith, right? So put a demand on it, and you'll be surprised at what kind of things your mind is going to tee up to you that you're going to be able to do this year to cover that difference. Well, hey, we don't like to end any episode without giving you the success challenge of the week. And look, today's success challenge is pretty obvious. Let's just start with step one, right? What if you and your family were to sit down and write out all of the expenses like that you would dream of for this year, right? What lessons do your kids want to do? Like what kind of education do they want to get? What are some of the things? What are some of the travel they'd like to do? Put it all down. Are you trying to upgrade your lifestyle? Are you feeling like God is asking you to step into a new lifestyle, like into a new home, into a new car? Is there a business that you want to invest in this year? Put it all down there, right? Don't limit yourself. Put it all down. And let's just start with step one in the success challenge of this week. Don't limit it. Write it all down, the annual expenses for your ideal year, and then get to work on the rest of it. So, hey, listen, if you have any questions for me, especially about this that I might be able to help you with on a future episode, just post them down in the comments. My team, all of us, we love to hear from you, and it helps us to create content that's super valuable and helpful for you. So just drop those in the comments, and my team will tee up those ideas to me for future episodes. But until then, have a great week, and we'll see you in the next episode. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Great businesses and great leaders are built using effective communication. For more, go to speakingschool.com, grab my Elite Business Success Toolkit for free just for trying out our Speaking School membership. That's speakingschool.com. See you next time.